Here we're on the front of our Thor Magnitude GA. We're going to be doing a technical walkthrough or tutorial like you would get with a technician on the data delivery, going through showing you the components on this unit and exactly how they work. You may have different name brands in your unit, or you want a deeper dive on these components and more. You can find that on our YouTube channel under the playlist Haps Helpful Hacks. Make sure you click like, subscribe, share, all that stuff helps support the channel and the content that we're giving to you. For the time being, we're going to start here in the front. Well, under our hoods, the main thing we want to look at in the front here, we have our chassis battery, which is going to be separate from our house batteries. So our chassis is going to run just our engine stuff, and our house batteries is going to run all the camper side of things. We'll show you in a little while. Our transmission fluid, oil down here. We have our air filter under here. Of course, we have oil fill and our brake and our radiator fluid right there as well. Now, of course, changing the oil, keeping track of your fluids, all that stuff is going to be regular owner's maintenance. And you keep track of all that stuff just like you would your everyday vehicle. Moving on to the driver's side of our unit, we have our side camera right here that'll activate for our blinkers whenever we're traveling. We have our first storage compartment right here. That Schwintek box right there is going to control our slide out right here. We'll show you the in and out of that on the inside, but there is an override on this box. We have a great video on Schwintek slides in our Haps Helpful Hacks section you might want to check out. Our next component, or compartment I should say, is our Onan generator. We can turn these knobs right here and pull the lid off. We have our generator, start stop button right here. This is stop side is also a prime. If we hold it down, it's going to prime the fuel pump on our unit and have it ready to where we can go ahead and start it right away. Then once we primed it, we hit that start button and it'll go ahead and crank up. Now we do have a couple of LED indicators right here that will tell you. This will give you a code that will let you know what may be wrong in the event it doesn't start. There are codes for Onan that will prompt you and let you know what may be wrong with the generator and how to deal with the situation. You're also going to have a breaker on here that is going to be different from your interior breakers. You see a little arrow pointed over to the side for your 30 amp breaker. If we look down, we can see that little switch. And in the event that you overamp the system, this breaker will trip here. You may not notice breakers tripped on the inside, but you don't have any power. You want to come here and check this one first. I suggest turning off your AC and stuff before resetting this. Otherwise, it may trip again. Turn off some of those appliances and then go turn them back on one by one. You might have just overamped that circuit. Of course, once again, you're going to have an air cleaner, oil, all that stuff on here. All of those things are going to require maintenance, and it would be done by the hours on your generator, just like the mileage on your car. You want to go ahead and keep track with that and make sure everything is maintained. Now, even though you can start it out here, you want to make sure you put that cover back on after you start it, so the cooling fan will actually cool that engine off properly. If we leave the lid off, that air will escape and it won't cool the engine properly if we don't have it on there. On our slide out, we're going to have our water heater right here. This is going to be a Girard tankless water heater. We'll go over the operation of that on the inside, but it's going to need 12 volts and propane to operate. If we lift this one right here, we have access to our dump station. Now we can see our gray handle right here. That's going to lead to our gray tank. Our gray tank is going to be shower water only and sink water. So anytime we have our hose hooked up there at the campsite, we can leave this valve open, let that water drain out all the time rather than coming back out and having to empty it every time it fills. Now the pipe will lead up to our black tank over there, and the handle for that is up top. Now our black tank, we need to keep it closed until we are ready to dump, whether we have a port at our campsite or not. Reason being is we want to keep water in that system. If we don't, the solids that we put in there, the sewage will dry up, get stuck to the tank, we'll have issues. So we want to keep several gallons of water in this system. Anytime we have it stored or using it, whatever the case may be, we always need to have water. So when we are ready to dump, we go ahead and pull that valve. We let the system go ahead and start emptying out. We have a black tank flush over there on the side. We'll go over in a minute, but we'll hook a water hose up to the black tank flush. That's going to lead to a jet port on the other side of that tank and start pushing any debris that's in that tank down this way to the valve, let it drain out. Then we go shut off that black tank flush. We come over here, we close our valve, go to the inside, hold down the pedal on the toilet, add several gallons of water to your system, and then of course add your chemicals. As you're driving down the road, the water is going to slosh around, clean that tank up a little bit, and then you can dump it again if you want, or just add more chemicals and let that stuff decay. We do have some more pro tips on black tank flush in our helpful hacks section, but this is how the manufacturer is going to recommend to do that. Moving on, our Suburban heater right here, this is going to be for our furnace, 12 volts and propane. In order for that to operate, we'll go over the thermostat operation of that when we get to the inside. We have our 30 amp twist lock right here plugged into the wall. The 30 amp twist lock goes in, we turn it to the right to lock it in. We have that little retainer ring we want to tighten up on there so kids can't accidentally pull it out or anything. Now another thing that is good to remember is we want to plug this in first, then plug it into our outlet so we don't have any arcing or anything like that here at this plug. It's also good to make sure your AC is off before you plug in or unplug this item as well, so we don't have any inappropriate surges to our AC. Below our power cord right there, if we flip that top, we have our coax. So if we had cable at the park campground, we can go ahead and hook it up to there, and that will lead to the inside of our unit. Our next compartment down is going to be our LP station, where we have our LP tank. We can see right here our meter to be able to keep track of how much LP we have. Our valve to open and close our propane. Of course, when we store it, it's best to go ahead and turn this off. Of course, anytime we need to use any LP components, we'll want to turn that on. These two items right here are going to be used when filling that tank. No need to worry about that. The filling station will know how to operate those components. Above that, we have our unleaded fuel. We also have our black tank flush right here. Pull that off, hook our hose up to it, and we're going to have our city water connection here. Now, city water connection is if we have a hose bib there at the campground, we go ahead and hook up to here, and that water is going to go straight to all of our faucets and everything on the inside, provide us water from there. Here is where we would fill our fresh tank. So that's onboard water storage. We gravity fill it. We take a water hose there at our house before we leave to head out. We put our water in here, and that will begin to fill that tank, and we can monitor how much is in there by our monitor on the inside. We'll show you. From there, we kick on our water pump, and that will supply water from that tank to all of our fixtures. Now, this is going to add more weight to your unit, so only take what you can need, and you want to drain it out. We'll show you where the drain is shortly. We want to drain it out if we're not using it, and we don't want that water to run stagnant, so drain it out if you don't need it. Our next is going to be our big open compartment in the back. We do have a table that comes with our unit, some more storage under there, spare tire option right there in the middle. We have more storage here in the middle, and then of course we have storage there, but we also have a rack that goes over that. We'll go over in a few. So on the back of our unit, we talked about our access to our storage and everything. On our bumper, we have these black caps we can pull off, store our sewer hose in there if we want. We're also going to have a 7-way plug and our receiver hitch back here to be able to tow a vehicle or trailer behind us. Up top, we're going to have our backup camera, coincides with our side cameras while we're traveling down the road. We can view behind us or while we're backing up. Last thing we're going to have is our factory supply ladder. That's important because we need to gain access to our roof. We do have a rubber roof up there. We got sealant up there we need to check every 60 to 90 days for any cracking, peeling, deterioration. If we find it, we need to clean it and reseal over it with the appropriate sealant. You're also going to have the same thing down all your trim on your sides, around your lights, stuff like that. Anywhere you see sealant, you're looking for that cracking, peeling, deterioration, clean it, seal it. Manufacturer says in your owner's manual every 60 to 90 days to check this. You need to check it. Whether it's under a cover or not, check it. We also want to wash our roof twice a year. Make sure that we're keeping that clean, keeping that rubber taken care of up there, and check after trips to make sure that we didn't hit any low-lying tree limbs and poke any holes in our unit. If we don't keep track of our sealants on our unit, our manufacturer is not going to participate in any water leaks or damage that incur due to lack of maintenance. Probably the #1 cause of damage to units because of neglect of the sealant, so make sure you're taking care of yours. Wrapping around the back corner here, we do have our storage tray that rolls in and out. We lift that latch, we can roll that unit back in, but we have this propane line to go to our griddle, and we can go ahead and hook it up there. The other end would be a male connection right here, and that would hook up in our compartment right here that has our quick connect. Quick connect has a little valve right here. Once we put that male fitting in here and we lock it in, we turn that valve on for flow to actually come out. Once we are done, want to disconnect that line, we'll of course have to turn that off to disconnect it. Other thing we have is our EverChill ice chest. This is a 110 unit, and course, we can go ahead and put our items in there. It's cooled by our electricity over there on the side. When we are done with it, we do have a drain plug off to the side right there. We need to drain that water out of this system and make sure that we are airing it out so it doesn't mold or mildew. Pretty easy operation. We have our left side and our right side. We can go ahead and change our temperature right here with our plus and minus. If we hit our settings, it will swap over to the other side. And once again, we can change that temperature there. We have a quick connect spray nozzle. See the female quick connect, our male quick connect right here. That would go in there. We have our spray nozzle right there. We have access to hose off feet or animals or whatever we want here on the side. And then down below that, we're gonna have another storage compartment. Nothing in that one. Moving down the line, we'll go over our entry door in a second, but our first one in the front is going to be our outdoor television. That'll have outdoor cable and antenna, and then of course our storage below it, and then our camera right there on the right side. So we can see here we have our 12-volt powered awning. Flip a switch, roll it in and out. Same thing for our lights. Keep mentioning 12-volt components. We're gonna have our 12-volt fuse panel on the inside. If any of this stuff stops operating, that's where we're gonna go for diagnostics first. So we have our awning. Important thing to know about our awning, it is mainly a sunshade. Keep it out there in the sun, shield us from the sun. If it starts to rain, we probably want to go ahead and pull it in. It can handle a little bit of light rain. Of course, we'll probably get some residual condensation on there from our AC, of course, dew as well. Well, all of that stuff has to find a way to roll off of our awning, and it's a pretty simple way to do it. We just lean our awning either in the front or the back, and we can do that by sliding this down. We tighten up this knob right here, and now our awning is pitched to the rear to where that water can run off. When we're ready to roll that awning in, we loosen that knob, let our shock push our arm back up, we're ready to go. If you are leaving your camper for an extended period of time, you know a storm is coming in, windstorm, rainstorm, whatever the case may be, roll that awning in. You don't want the insurance claim, I promise you. So just go ahead, be careful, be cautious, roll it in whenever you're not using it. As we walk into our unit on our steps, we see we push that button right there, we can lift it up. We'll gain access to our house batteries that will run all of our 12-volt stuff on the interior of our unit. Of course, we do have space to add a second battery if we wish. Up to the left of our steps, we have our awning switch in and out, and we also have our 12-volt awning lights, our step lights, and then we have our cargo lights, which run all of our cargo lights on the exterior, and then we have our interior lights right there. Also have our manual battery disconnect off and on. That is going to disconnect you from those batteries that are under the step. So anytime we store our unit, we want to turn this off if we leave our unit unplugged. If we leave our unit plugged in, we want to make sure it's on so our converter system is actually charging that battery. If not, it will not be charging it even though your lights are on the inside. That system is not connected to our batteries and it's not charging. So we have a little cheat sheet dial right here. This is going to tell you your battery, your fresh tank, your black tank, and your gray tank. Red, of course, on our fresh tank is going to mean empty. If it was green, that means we're full. Battery, red is bad, green is good. On our black and gray tanks, green is good, red is bad. AGS, that is our automatic generator system. So our generator can kick on and actually charge our batteries. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to that control. But to turn that off and on, just a quick access, we can hit that blue button when we're leaving our unit, set that AGS up, and it will be on. We'll turn it off, just a quick click, and it'll shut off. If we want all these LEDs to turn off, we hold it down for 2 seconds and that system will shut off. If we don't want to use it, we can go ahead and kick it back on and have those lights show. To the right, we're going to have our 10 amp solar controller. We are prepped with a solar panel up top, and we can go in this and access some of our solar, go through, make sure we have the right battery set up, and we'll monitor how that system is being charged off of solar, of course, if we have the proper sunlight. Jumping straight into our driver's seat, we can see we have our regular setup from forward for our lights. We have our heated mirrors up here. We also have our left and right to be able to control our powered mirrors. We can go ahead and kick our ignition on right here and demonstrate. When we kick our blinkers on, we have our side blinkers that kick on each side. And then when we put it in reverse, of course, we have our backup camera. Now, a couple of other things that our radio can do is actually run our unit. If we go to home, we can see that we have our RV control down here at the bottom, and this is where we would extend and retract our slide out. Our slide out is a Schwintek slide. If you want more information on that, We do have a video, as mentioned, in that first compartment where that controller is. It goes over how to override that system if we ever have a problem. So we need to have our emergency brake on and our engine on. We hold down that button for a couple seconds, and then our slide out will begin to extend out. Beyond that, we have our emergency start right there. What that will do is connect our chassis battery with our house batteries. If for whatever reason our chassis battery is dead, then we can hold down that button. It will connect the two almost like a set of jumper cables, and we can start our engine. Let off, it turns off. We have our 12-volt tank heaters right here. We can kick those on in extreme weather, and there's a 12-volt mat on there to heat them up and prevent them from freezing up. Our water pump right here, that will pull from that fresh tank we talked about and supply water to our fixtures in the event we don't have a city water connection at the campsite where we're at. We don't want to have that on if we have a city water connection. It is an on-demand pump, so it's only going to operate when you have it on and you're using your fixtures. After you turn off your faucet, it will vibrate for a couple more seconds, just priming the system, and then it should shut off. If you notice where it's running all the time and we don't have any of our faucets on, we want to check and make sure our tank isn't empty. And if it's not, then we also want to check and make sure we don't have a leak in the system. Either way, we want to turn that off and investigate. Over to the right of our fresh tank gauge right here, of course, we have our black and gray tanks right there, and it will tell us what our current levels are. Our propane has a gauge right here as well, tell you what its current level is, and then it'll also tell you any errors we may have on the side. If we hit this little generator button right here up top, that will bring us to our automatic generator start option, that AGS that we talked about over by the door. Now we can enable this by turning that system on right there. It will not run if our engine is running, so if our engine's running, we want to make sure that it's cut off in order to enable this system. Once again, we can also turn it on by that blue button by the door as well. So we can decide from here how we want our generator system to work. So if we want to base it off of our voltage dropping down below 11.5 volts, that system needs to be on right here, and we can adjust that voltage setting to whatever we would want it to be to kick that generator on. When we want it to stop is when that battery level reaches 13.3 here, once again also adjustable. We can also adjust how long we want our generator to actually run, whether we want it 10 minutes, 20 minutes, or so on. And then we can also run the max level of 120 minutes over here. So minimum amount of 10, maximum of 120 to be able to get to that charge level right there. We also have our temperature option right here, 80 degrees. We can go ahead and change that to 75. So we can use that based on our AC system. Our AC would kick on, and if our temperature reaches 77, our generator is going to start, that AC will kick in, it'll start cooling our unit. We can also put our quiet times as far as when we don't want it to run down there at the bottom. But basically we would use this if we're leaving our unit set up somewhere, we're not plugged in, want that generator to kick on and operate, or if we just want it to kick on regularly just so it can run and we keep it maintained, we can do that too. And once again, if you don't want to use it, you don't have to, you just kick that system off. Right here, it will tell you the current mode that it's in. Generator is stopped. If we were to go ahead and start it, of course, it's going to let us know that that generator is running. We have our temperature right there, 81 degrees. I have it in manual mode right now. We can stop it from here as well, or prime that system just like we did outside. This will also give our current battery level for our house batteries, as you can see there. Now, if we go to our home page right here, this is where that AGS option is right there. We also have RV control that brought us to our slide out. We have some other settings in here that to be able to hook up your Bluetooth options and stuff. We can also monitor our rear camera from here as well, even though we're not backing up. If we wanted to Bluetooth, we go into BT phone right there, and then we can go ahead and hit paired. We would search for our phone, put in that pairing code, and we can have our phone hooked up to the system. Now we can also hook up to our phone through one of these USBs right here that hooks to the back of the radio, and that would charge it and communicate some of our stuff like our audio from that phone as well. Our AC system is going to be standard just like it would on any other Ford. We have our steering wheel controls for our cruise control and everything, for our dial up there, that LED display to be able to go through some of that. This is going to control our radio system. If we hit some of these, like our camera, that's going to automatically bring up our camera over there. We can start into call, our volume controls, mute button, and then our source, whether we want radio, Bluetooth, so on and so forth. We can change that and then skip tracks with these bottom two buttons down here. Up above our cabin area, of course, we have a cushion right here we can go ahead and put in place for more sleeping area. We flip that down, push that rear cushion back, have it down. We can add our ladder right here to gain access. We want more headroom to be able to get in and out of there. We just flip that up and store it there. Our recliners here do have seat belts for travel, and of course they do recline. We pull that little cable down there at the bottom and we can recline back. Of course, our slide out would have to be out. Up above our recliners in that first compartment towards our bunk area, we're gonna notice our coax plate right here. This is gonna be where our own antenna boost is. So we would use antenna when we are searching for antenna channels on our TV. We would wanna boost it, flip that switch, and that green light will turn on, letting you know our antenna power is on, helping you pick up more channels in that area. Now, if we have cable at the campground, I want to flip that button off. That way it doesn't scramble the channels from the cable at the campsite. Now, all of our TVs are going to be running to that antenna boost. That's going to be the only one you have in your unit. So this will work for all of our TVs wherever that coax plate is hooked up, as long as our antenna wire is hooked up to it. It'll also work for cable if we have the campground set up. We have our table right here with wireless charging right there on it. And then we can go ahead and drop this table down. We have that lever down at the bottom, flip it over to the left. We drop that table down. We can move our cushions out of the way, drop it all the way down, take our back cushions, set it on top so we have more sleeping space. We can go ahead and lift it up, take that handle, flip it over to the right, and that will go ahead and lock it in. We'll give you a look at that handle there at the bottom. That is it right there. All we're doing is latching it in right in front of that white spacer right there to keep it locked in. You do have a shock arm to help assist in moving that up and down. Here in our kitchen area, 110 microwave or hood vent. On the outside, you may see a vent back there that has latches on it. You may want to unlatch that. That way that air actually ventilates out. If you want to latch it back closed whenever you store the unit, prevent any critters from growing any nests in there, you can go ahead and do that as well. Have our light. Our glass top right here will provide more counter space. That's also how it needs to be when we travel. When we cook, we go ahead and flip that up. Exposing our 3 burners right here from Furrion. We have our dials here at the bottom with a little switch on the right that will light them up blue. If we flip it down, it lights them up blue and then also lights up our oven. Now on the top here, in order to operate, we can go ahead and turn this knob to our flame icon for whatever designated burner we want to use. Then we can go ahead and hit our manual crank, and that will light that system. Of course, our propane would need to be on. This will light up red to indicate that gas is flowing out of this system. That way kids running around playing with stuff, it's a good indicator, hey, it's on and needs to be shut off if it's not being used. Now, a funny thing about propane is we can get air in our system. This generally happens after we've stored our unit with our system off. We'll end up with air in it, or if we ran out of propane, we just got it refilled, we're gonna have air in our system. I always suggest to bleed the air out of that system by coming over to the stovetop, lighting the stovetop, letting it run for about 60 seconds, and then you should be pretty well good. At that point, then you go run things like your water heater or your furnace and stuff. Otherwise, they could go into an error due to air in that system. So real simple, turn your propane on, come straight over that stovetop and light it up. Down below, we're gonna have our oven. Dial all the way to the right, same thing, turn it to the flame icon, but this one you have to push that knob down until this pilot lights. We'll do our manual crank, our pilot will light at the bottom. We keep holding it down for about 15 seconds, warm up that thermocouple, and then we go ahead and let off and we can turn it to our appropriate temperature, close our door, and we're ready to cook. Just outside our bathroom, we have our thermostat for our Coleman Mach AC rooftop air. If we go ahead and click on it, we would have our options for off, cool, heat, cool heat, and then also cool dry. So as we circulate through these options, obviously off is off. We go into cool, we hit that button right there. We can choose our fan speed. We have high or low auto, meaning that fan will turn off or on with the compressor. Then we have low and high, which means that fan would stay on all the time no matter how that compressor is operating. We click it one more time, it'll bring us to our current room temperature, what our set temperature is. If we turn that dial, it will change our set temperature to whatever we desire. Click that button again, it'll bring it back to our main screen. Click it one more time, we can go into our heat option. We click it, We have our set temperature. We can obviously go ahead and change there. That will initiate our furnace, and of course our room temperature. That is going to initiate that gas furnace, and the hot air is going to be coming out of our lower vents and stuff right here. Our cold air for our AC is going to be coming out of our rooftop vents there. So don't be confused as to which one operates which. We hit it again and we can go into our cool heat option. Same thing, we'll have our fan setting right there for the cool option on which one we want to use. Now this operates to where based on our set temperature. So if it's regulating cold and hot and wherever we're at, we can go ahead and choose, let's say 65 degrees. Maybe we want it to kick on at night whenever it's cold. That heater will kick on, keep us at 66. Maybe that temperature rises throughout the day and then our AC can kick on and cool it off. Our next mode is our cool dry mode. So basically this works as a dehumidifier. We go ahead and choose our set temperature, and we're going to notice that this system runs based on that set temperature, and it's going to help keep the moisture out of your unit. And we go into our off mode, and then we can actually just have just the rooftop fan running, meaning it's not cooling, we're not heating, we're not anything. It's just that rooftop air circulating air throughout our unit. So we can choose high or low, and just that rooftop air fan will be running. Next, we will have our refrigerator, 12-volt operated refrigerator. We have a dial down here at the bottom that's going to go from 0 to 7, 0 being cold, 7 being the coldest, and then same thing up top for our freezer from minimum to mid to maximum as far as freezer control. Now the thing about our fridge is after we are done using it, we shut down our unit, we're storing it, we want to defrost this. We don't have drain tubes on this fridge, so once that ice defrosts up here, that water's got to go somewhere, and generally it's going to be out those doors and it's going to damage our wood components around it. Manufacturers aren't going to participate in that kind of repair. We need to defrost and store our fridge properly. We do that by defrosting, wiping everything down, making sure we do the same thing in our refrigerator box, and that will reduce chance for mold and mildew and reduce any opportunity for water to drip out and damage those components around it. We can also go ahead and leave our doors propped open like that to let it air out as well. This is our travel latch right there on the side. We go ahead and put that on when we're in travel, keep those doors from flying open if we hit a turn. Our bathroom, fairly cut and dry. We have our shower, our hot and cold right there. On our shower head, we have that little on-off switch right there that's going to turn that shower head off and on. It's just a convenience item. If we are dry camping, we don't have a place to dump our stewage, then we are trying to conserve the amount of water we put into our gray tank, as well as maybe the water we're using out of our fresh tank. So easy way to do that is just shutting the shower head off and on while we're taking a shower in between getting wet and lathering up. We can do that, and we don't have to worry about trying to find that sweet spot on our faucet right here. And instead, we can just go on and off with that shower head. Besides that, we have our fan up top. It's suggested whenever you take a shower, we use that to get any heat and humidity out of here, reduce the risk for mold and mildew to develop in your bathroom. Below that, we have our toilet. The toilet works off of this foot pedal right here on the side, and it will open up that valve down there at the bottom, as well as emit water down there to go ahead and flush that system. Now, in our toilet, we're only putting number 1 and number 2 as far as sewage is concerned, liquids and solids, right? So number 1 being liquids, we can put that in there, hit that pedal, flush it, it'll send it straight to the black tank. Number 2, solids, we want to fill this bowl about half to 3/4 of the way with water, so we're sure we have enough water in there to push those solids all the way down to our black tank, and we don't have any clogging issues. You do that by barely pushing down on that pedal right there. Water will start to fill up that bowl without opening up the bottom of it, and then we can go ahead and flush our system when we have the appropriate amount of water in there. Another thing is we want to use RV toilet paper only, so it'll degrade properly in that tank, and also RV chemicals for our black tank will help it do so, as well as help it keep smelling nice. We're also going to have our Girard tankless water heater in here. We'll go over the operation of that, as well as our main outlet for our GFCI. Here we have our Girard tankless water heater control. We have our Celsius Fahrenheit button right here at the top left to swap between the 2 types of temperature. We have our on-off button, and we have our up and down that will change the temperature that we have set for our unit. Now, once we initiate our hot water, you'll see a couple of things happen. You'll see our temperature up here change to our output temperature, which is the temperature of the water coming out of our tankless water heater system. We'll also see a shower head icon at the bottom right. That shows that water is in use. And then we'll see our fan icon on the bottom left lets us know that our tankless water heater system is initiating. Once we see the flame that pops up in the middle of our unit, that means that our system is actually heating that water, and we'll see that temperature begin to increase. Now, these systems only run for 20 minutes before going into a shutoff mode. In the event that you're still using hot water after that point, just turn the hot water off and turn it back on, and it will reinitiate and begin to heat water again. In our bathroom, we'll notice our GFCI outlet that we spoke about. Anything with that protected sticker on there will go back to this outlet right here. In the event that those outlets are not operating, we want to hit that reset button, and that will reset that GFCI. These are only resettable if you are plugged into 110 and we are having power to this outlet. If that breaker is tripped and this outlet is not getting 110, it will not reset, so keep that in mind. Not too much to go over in our bedroom. Of course, we have our closets right there. We're going to have a TV mount right here on the side with our antenna and cable hookup. Down here at the bottom, we're going to see where our converter is located. That converter is the charger for our battery system. It's going to be down there in the bottom. We may hear a fan running in there to help keep that system cool anytime we're plugged in. If we flip that down, we see all our 110 breakers and our 12-volt fuses. All our labels there at the bottom as to what they go to for our 12 volts and our 110 right there up top next to the breakers. Now, this is the first place we want to go. If we have any trouble with any of the items, come check, make sure there's no blown fuses or tripped breakers in the event that something's not working. Down below our bed, if we lift our mattress, we can see our little label right there for our low point drain. Low point drain is used when we want to prepare to winterize our unit, drain all the water out of our system. We would have to take these square head screws out right here, gain access, and we can open up those low point drains. And that is also where we'll find our drain point for our fresh water system as well. Last thing on our unit is our AC assembly. That'll be coordinated with our thermostat there on the side. It's what is going to produce all our cold air, right? Our rooftop unit. We have our vents on each side. Those are going to be our filters. We need to keep those clean so we're not restricting air to our AC. You can do that by pulling those two tabs, pulling that out, cleaning it up. The other two vents here are our quick dump vents. If we open them up, air will be pushed out of this area. We would open those up if we want to cool this area off quickly. If we want air to run through our AC ducts that run up and down our unit, we want to make sure these are closed, otherwise that air is not going to be pushed through there. That wraps up everything on our magnitude. Hope you enjoyed.
Well, we hope you found that resourceful. But wait, there's more information on our Great American RV YouTube channel. This channel right here, find the playlist Hap's Helpful Hacks. We go over different products in this unit, and we'll take a deeper dive with more diagnostics, more information, as well as helpful tips when you're out camping. Tell your buddies, tell your friends, like, share, subscribe, do all those awesome things on YouTube, TikTok, wherever you found us. And keep watching here at Great American RV Superstores, where we bring the how-to you.